Earl Baldus. Um, I actually worked for him for 1 year. I was the announcer at Eldora Speedway in 1996. That was right before I went off to work for ARCA. Did you get along okay with him? Did you guys sync up?
Well, see, my dad and I was 3 when Eldora opened, and my dad was the first guy to ever go around Eldora Speedway. And him and Earl both drank beer, and so did everybody else after races. Well, Dad and Earl was always a pretty good friend. Well, then as I got older, and like I said, Terry, him and I was the same age. So we didn't hang out a lot as kids, but some we did. But as we got older, it just kind of got together. Well, then Earl and Dad stayed friends forever, and then we kind of got old enough, and we became really good friends with Earl. And well, Steve Moorhead and myself, we went with Earl. It was Steve's idea, and then I went in with him, and we promoted them the MA motorcycle, the flat tracker that Eldora.
I went to one of those.
Did you? And that was
Amazing.
all our idea, and we went and worked it all out. And Larry Bowes was sitting there with us, and we said, well, we'll do it for 25%. Earl said, yeah, that sounds good. So then Steve and we just told him everything we was going to do, and at the end of it, Earl said something about the 25% for both of us. No, Earl, you got to understand. This is 25 for Steve, 25 for me, and 50 for you. Oh no, he said, I won't do that. After we went through the whole sales gimmick, and he said Louis Armstrong came and performed up here. He only got 40%. I said, evidently that's all he's worth. I said, I'm not. I said, if you think I'm gonna do it for less than 25, I said, I'd rather go racing. So Earl did it, and that was a ball as far as promoting the race and all. That ended up being a good time, and definitely a different chapter in my book.
Yeah, I mean, so Louis Armstrong played at that little Eldora ballroom.
Yeah.
Apparently, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I didn't know the until Earl told me.
Man, that's really cool. Looking at your career, it is pretty doggone amazing. We know that you're a 2-time USAC Silver Crown champion. I think it was 86, 87.
Mm-hmm.
And then you won 23 main events with the USAC Silver Crown Series. That's second all-time. Fourth all-time, as I understand it, with the USAC Sprint Car Division, 46 wins there. You were the 1985 All-Star Sprint Car champion, 56 wins there. That's in the top 5. Finished 12th, if I have it right, in the 1998 Indianapolis 500. And the stat that really stands out to me, which was also 98, I believe, September, 4 Crown Nationals. You won all 4 feature events, the sprint cars, the midgets, the Silver Crown, and I think it was modifieds back then.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Hall of Fame, inducted into the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame in 2002. Your career, to me, when you add it all up, seems super spectacular, amazing. What does it seem like to you?
See, I don't really see any of that because I'm just old Jack. I mean, wherever we go, I don't think we got voted, the top 19 of the century, the last century. And out of the 25, well, I was in there with some pretty neat guys, Foyt and Poncho and Dixon and Bettenhausen and those guys. It was pretty amazing for me to be in there, But as far as my whole career, probably one of my most memorable accomplishments is there's only been 3 people ever win the Silver Crown, Triple Crown for the Silver Crown races. And that was Jimmy Bryan, Al Unser Sr., and me, where we won the Hoosier 100, the Springfield, the Tony Bettenhausen, and the Ted Horn. And just those 3 people are the only ones that ever done it. And my name is with Jimmy Bryan and Al Unser Sr.
Two Indy 500 winners there.
Yes, what a deal.
That's remarkable. I love those tracks, those
Yeah.
mile dirts, DuQuoin and Springfield. Is there, the difference between driving a open wheel sprint car or a midget or the bigger Silver Crown cars? Is there science in driving those cars? The difference between those 3, is there science behind it, or is it the standard Schrader answer? You just drive as fast as you can and try not to hit anything.
I'd say they all got a steering wheel and a gas pedal. If you got that down, the rest of it just falls into place.
But you have to drive them different. A big Silver Crown car compared to like a little itty bitty midget.
A Silver Crown car like racing with Clash, And I tell people, I tell the kids today, my analogy for that, I said, go to the bar. Instead of just going for that number at 10, I said, you go and find you a big woman there. I said, and you take her on that night, you'll find out that they handle a little different, but they're still a lot of fun, you know, and that's what I tell them, because it's just the
Oh
difference in
Lord.
the weight and the size. You probably have to delete that.
No, that's the best part.
But I'm just telling you that, you know, that's the analogy for them to understand the difference in them. And like I said, I started in a sprint car. That was my first race car ever. Well, then to go to a midget or to a dirt car, it's just a stepping stone in there, you know. And then the modified or the dirt late model, it's all about the weight part of it. And like I said, they're all great. They're all a lot of fun. And like I said, probably the modified, you have to drive a little bit different, or the late models, you know. And the Silver Crown cars, they're just racing with class. The sprint cars is definitely the ultimate race car ever put on this planet, you know. And I preferred the non-wing. I mean, the wing are fast and straight, you know, but I ran a little bit of pavement. And in my career, there was two things that was never used to describe my driving style, and that was smooth or patient. So you know, pavement wasn't going to be my forte without a doubt, you know. But we won a few races on it. We had a lot of fun, and like I said, it's been a ride.
Is it harder to drive a sprint car without a wing than with a wing? I mean, the big wing, the way I see it, it helps. It's a giant billboard that plants the car through the corner, and they go through the corner actually straighter, faster maybe, but are they easier to drive with a wing? I don't know if easy is the right word for
Yeah,
that.
no, because
No, there's nothing easy about it.
right, you take a 3 second faster lap at Eldora, you know, over the wing and the non-wing. That's a pretty big jump, you know. So
Yeah, it is.
non-wing is you're slower, you're sideways, the car might be more violent if you crash. The wings are just as hard, because even though they're stuck down and everything, they're so much faster that your response time has to be quicker, and everything happens quicker with the wing.
Yeah, I mean, going around Eldora and, you know, whatever, 15 seconds, 14 seconds, whatever it is now, I don't know how they do it, but I mean, is that I can hold my breath for 15 seconds, did you?
Oh yeah, that wasn't a problem. I could tell people before, you know, I go into one and say, oh no, I don't want in too deep, you knew it. God, get me out of here, man. Just let me make it through this turn, and I promise I'm gonna straighten my act up, you know, and I'm gonna be doing the right thing. Somehow I'm coming out of two. I made it through the corner. I go into the third turn, I gotta start the same speech all over
Same
again.
prayer, huh?
Yeah, you know, you gotta start the same prayer, because you don't know you screwed up.
That's funny. The 1998 Indianapolis 500, I mean, what was that experience like? I mean, that to me is the biggest race in the world. The feeling of being down there on that starting grid, you know, drivers, start your engines, the whole thing, the hundreds of thousands of people wrapped around that place. What a thrill that must have been.
Well, you know, growing up 100 miles from Indianapolis, that was my dad's dream, which, of course, you know, was my dream of being a racer. Any racer wanted to run Indianapolis.
Of course.
And so, unfortunately, my dad passed away the year before. I mean,
Oh, he didn't get to see
so
that.
he didn't get to see it, but 'cause today I guarantee you they would still remember Don Hewitt there, where they'd have forgot about me. But the only thing I got cheated out of Indy was they shut it down to like 2 weeks, you know, where instead of the month of May.
Sure.
And that's the only thing I got cheated on. But I made the comment to Tony George. I said, this is like a county fair. I said, and I want to ride every ride. I mean, from the Riley's Children's Hospital to the balls to the mayor's conference or luncheon
To the parade.
to the parade. I mean, we did everything that they had, and I've heard Tony George use that analogy, you know, a little bit later. You know that yeah, it's like a county fair, and he wants to ride every ride, and I did. I mean, and to go down the straightaway. The first time I went down the straightaway and my little deal said 220 mile an hour, I thought, man, it's pretty wild, you know. And then probably the best part, Gary Lee asked me, he said, well, what are you going to do after the races? I said, well, when the feature's over, I'm going to Eldora Speedway to run a USAC sprint car. Well, he got to laughing. He said, I've never heard the Indianapolis 500 called a feature. But anyways, I didn't want that day to end, and I stayed till dark signing autographs. And that's about the only race I ever missed at Eldora, because I wasn't, you know, hurt or something like that.
God, I mean, you talked about Eldora, you know, putting a wing on and going 3 seconds faster. Well, now you're going from a 120 mile an hour sprint car to a 220 mile rocket on a rectangle. I mean, that had to have been scary, yes, no? I mean,
Well,
quite an adjustment.
I hit the wall the first day of practice.
Did you?
And I come out and I told the guy the car's pushing. So, which I guess in Indy terms you say it's understeer. Well, he said you're not driving the car right. So, anyways, I did what he told me and drove it straight into the wall. He said, well, just stay in the gas. So I did, and I drove into the wall, hit the outside wall coming off 4, went in, hit the inside wall, and then back out and hit the outside wall. They got the car fixed, I think, on Wednesday, and we went back out, and then we made the show. And no, I mean, it just, that car is built for that speed, and you don't think nothing about it, you know. I mean, it's amazing. But like I said, I tell people right now, if I could run one race car, be healthy, you know, be 30 years old again, and which car would you pick to drive? I would run a non-wing sprint car at Eldora Speedway.
Everything.
Wouldn't have to think about it. Wouldn't even have to say, well, I mean, because I do like the dirt cars a lot, but the most awesome car at Eldora is a non-wing sprint car.
I mean, yeah, but just at the Brickyard, you're 220 mile an hour down the straightaway, and you go into that into turn 1, and you're really into a rectangle with the short chutes. How do you know it's going to stick? I mean,
they tell you it will.
Okay.
So, you know, everybody else can do it, so you figure you
all
can do
right,
it. And the neatest thing for me is Gary Bettenhausen, Al Hunter, which was always my hero, it was Pernelli Jones. You know, my dad, then Pernelli, and because I had a 98 was my first car, and then when he hired Al Hunter, you know, and later on Floyd, of course, had to be right in there with the boys forever. When they turned around, of all the people that tried to help me, Johnny Rutherford come up, he says, Jack, he said, run this place like you run Winchester, which I never was very good at Winchester. But he said, you back off down the straightaways and flat-foot it through the corner. And I think three laps after he told me that, I could flat-foot it then. So Johnny Rutherford, when I went to the Hall of Fame at Knoxville, it was really neat for me because 3 people were there. Junie Hefner, which was my dad's car owner, and he let me drive his sprint car hot laps a couple times at Limeland with Dad. And so he was actually the first guy ever let me in a sprint car. And then Johnny Rutherford was sitting there at Knoxville, and he helped me get into Indianapolis 500 for the tips he gave me. And then here was Doc Miller from Tampa, Florida, Jen Opperman's buddy. He introduced me to Jesus. I said, man, I got everybody here that I need. So I don't even need a speech or nothing. I can talk about these 3 guys because 3 of the most important people as far as my racing career and my life part went, they're sitting here, you know. So it was just all good.
That's super interesting. Back in your heyday through the 80s and, you know, early to mid 90s, who was the toughest sprint car driver you raced against?
Today and every day, without doubt, Steve Kinzer. I mean,
it's hard to choose anyone else, isn't it?
He is the best sprint car driver ever, and I don't think if you want to talk to anybody, I mean, Kyle Larson's got a touch, and I ain't saying he don't. But Steve Kinzer is the greatest sprint car driver ever, you know, and of course then I had Sammy was there, you know, and Ferkel, without a doubt, you know, Bobby Allen. And those guys, I mean, we was right there in the tough days, you know what I'm saying, when they was all there.
Oh, my God.
And then with USAC, we raced against Larry Dixon and
Poncho and Gary B.
Poncho, absolutely. Well, Poncho was always a hero, and he's just a year older than me, but I always liked to watch Poncho or be around him.
Raleigh always thought he was one of the best to ever get in the saddle, Poncho.
Yeah, and didn't make no difference. I think the best story I ever heard about Raleigh was at Heidelberg, Pennsylvania. He come in, and I was only there a couple times when it was pavement, but it used to be dirt, I guess, at one time. Mm-hmm. And Raleigh won the feature there, and he's up there getting his picture taken. He said, how'd this mud get up on the roll cage? And they said, well, you rolled over. No, I didn't. He said, yeah, you rolled your car over. He rolled it and still won the feature. Didn't even know he rolled it. Now, that's the story that I heard. So he's a pretty bad dude.
Oh, man, that's interesting. He was my hero growing up because he drove for my stepfather. That rodeo bar car was a car my stepfather owned, and he was from Toledo. I was from Toledo. I was, one of the greatest honors of my life. I gave Raleigh's eulogy, at the funeral, and that was huge for me to have that honor. But I really, really respected and appreciated him. Do you have any? So I think I heard it earlier, but just to confirm, no regrets through all
No,
this racing stuff.
no.
I know you got hurt,
You know,
the whole thing.
right. Well, if I had to take and say, well, I don't want to be hurt, I'd take that race back. Well, for me to take that race back, they say, well, you got to take this, this, and this away. No, I'm not changing nothing. Most people quit after they break their neck the first time. I wasn't that smart. But if I would have quit, I wouldn't have won the 4 Crown. I wouldn't have got to go to Indy and everything else. So yeah, I'm old. I always told everybody, for me, I've always been clumsy. A guy asked my dad one time, he said, Don, you want to go down and watch Jack go in the corner? No, he said, we know he's going to go in. Let's see if he comes out. And my dad always made fun of me about being so clumsy. And I said, for me, when I got hurt, it wasn't a big life-changing experience because I said the only thing I ever did on my right arm was wear a wristwatch. I said, and today I really don't care what time it is, and I was always clumsy, so nothing's changed a lot. I lucked out. I was left-handed. I hurt the right side, so life goes on.
So you wouldn't do anything different, even knowing what you know now, or all that jazz.
The only thing Indy, I know I was only going to get to go there one time because of my mouth.
Because of your outspokenness?
Yeah.
Last time I heard you at a banquet was Eldora, probably the year I was there. And the thing I left with is, I think you said something like tire rules suck, or something like that. But you've always been outspoken. Are you here to say that got you in trouble a time or two?
Well, we did the golf course. Now, I can't play golf, but I'm going to do whatever it is. They had the golfer tournament. So I went there, and Dennis Woods was the MC afterwards for the banquet. And I don't know, there's 400 people there or something like that. And he says, well, what do you think about becoming the oldest rookie to ever make the Indianapolis 500?
Is that still true?
True, yes. Yep, that's
Okay.
the only record there.
How old were you then?
42.
Wow.
And I beat Lynn St. James, which I definitely didn't think much of women race car drivers.
Have you changed? Have you evolved on that?
There's a few that deserve to be there without a doubt, and they get honorable mention, but they didn't make our sport, They came along later in life, and yes, there is that Aaron Crocker and Sarah Fisher. You can't say enough about them, and some of the new ones too. But the problem is, they're the ones that get all the publicity because they're girls. Well, that didn't set well. And so anyway, they asked me there, he said, well, what do you think about becoming the oldest rookie? I said, it's great. I said, but I really feel bad for Lynn St. James, because she not only lost that, she didn't make the race, And so Dennis, he knew I didn't care for, didn't think they deserved to be there. He said, well, why would you say that? I said, well, when Lynn St. James missed the show, I said, that made me the only driver in the field with a mustache. He came after me, he said, Jack, you're not at Eldora. You can't say that kind of thing. I said, well, Brian, I cleaned it up. Now, he should have dropped it right there. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, I was going to say that since Lynn St. James missed the show, that makes Roberto Guerrero the only bleep in the field. I said, which I didn't have nothing against Roberto Guerrero anyway, but he just walked away and never came back. So all the reporters would come around my garage.
Because they were looking for that sound bite that they could use.
Well, and they come down in Lion Dyke. Our Lion Dyke just went and started badmouthing the rookies. Well, that's me. And they come down, what do you think about Lion Dyke? I said, well, what did he say? Well, he's badmouthing you rookies. And I said, well, I said, man, who cares? Thanks. Well, they printed it like that.
Oh, no.
And then he got mad at me at Loudon and like he was wanting to fight. He didn't really want to fight, but he was acting like it, and he had to. But him and I, then we go to Indy for the autograph station, and he introduces me to his son. This is the guy that called me a European. Ari, I didn't call you no European. And we became really good friends. It was just all, at the time he was a little upset, but I knew I was only going to get one shot, and that's probably all if I'd ever made it to NASCAR, I wouldn't have been there very long either, because Tony Stewart, as mouthy as he was, he's still pretty tame.
Do you pay attention to NASCAR today? Do you care? Yeah, you watch it?
Yeah, I got it's just on all the time. You about got to watch it, and like I said with Kyle and Ryan Newman, which we raced against. I didn't race against Kyle, but with Ryan and, well, JJ was in there, and a lot of the dirt car drivers made it, so I would watch those quite
Sure.
a bit, and that would be my pick. But then you got Truex, who was a Bass Pro guy. Just different things. I do watch it. I keep an eye on them.
Yeah. So we've established, in your opinion, and I'm going to agree with you, that Steve Kinser is the greatest sprint car driver to ever get in the chair. Is Kyle Larson the greatest driver right now?
I gotta say, the day was AJ Foyt. Then it went to Mario Andretti because he could get anything about win. Of course, Kinder won and everything to a midget and a sprint and a Silver Crown. But then along came Schrader, which was right in there, could drive anything. And then Tony Stewart got in there and blew everybody away. Kyle Larson has got a touch that I don't think anybody could argue with. He's got something that nobody's ever had, or he's taken it to extremes, because it's a gas pedal and a steering wheel, and he can drive the wheels off of them.
Yeah, he seems to be. It doesn't matter what he's in either. He's gonna be there.
He don't care.
You have been, I would say, exceptionally popular with the fans over the decades. To what do you attribute that to? Outspokenness? Just you spent time with them?
Well, I stayed at the racetrack. I'd say 95% of the time, I was always one of the last people to leave the racetrack.
So if someone wanted to talk with you who was a fan, we were
there.
Yeah.
Whether we won, lost, or crashed, I was still there till the end. And let me just tell you a quick story how it all. We went to Gas City. They charged $22 for a pit pass. I was furious. I was hot. And
when would that have been? Because that's,
God, I can't remember.
I was gonna say that's almost cheap now.
Yeah. But that was
Back then.
they was starting,
Yeah.
I was in the 17 car. I can't remember what year that was. But anyway, they turned around and we won the feature. Well, I'm still mad. So instead of stopping on the front straightaway and letting them get their picture taken with me, giving me the trophy and all this, I just turned around and did a U-turn on the back straightaway and come back, waved, the fan pulled back, went right back to the pitch, and the promoter come up, shook my hand. He said, "Can you do me a favor?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Can you never come back here again?" I said, "I ain't coming back here anyways. It costs too much to get in the pits." He was mad because we didn't stop out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before it was over with, he come down to me later that night and he said, "Hey, do you mind going and getting paid so that my wife, she wants to go home and you're the last one to get paid?" We became great friends, because he seen I was still there for the fans, no matter what the deal was. So, and it really started out, like I kiss and hug all the girls. I mean, it's just automatic.
No.
And it started out when I was younger, the little girls. Well, then they just progressively got older and older and older. Now,
Like you did.
I don't care if they come up and want to kiss and hug. I got one for them, and it's still today. Well, I got one back. Well, let's do it again today. We don't have to do it now.
Did you actually enjoy your time with the fans, or does that get to be a pain in the ass when they're there, hours are going by, you're still with them, or did you honestly, genuinely enjoy it?
Somebody asked me one time, they said, he said, "You have to go sign autographs?" I said, "Nope. I wanted to, and no, I enjoy people. As much as I talk, I need a lot of people to talk to." So I was just there for them to talk, and probably one of the neatest ones was when we was at Lima every week, this little girl, she kept coming up. We had two sisters, and every year they'd get me a birthday cake and everything, Well, here about, 5, 7 years ago, gets away from me, she walked up to me. And I haven't seen her since she was a little girl. She said, "You probably might not remember me." I said, "Sharon." She about fell on the ground.
You remembered her name.
And she just could not believe it, And like I said, the fans were down there for me, but they thought I was there for the fans, but the fans were there for me. And I always say I never was the favorite race car driver, but I was one of the fan favorites, just because I was there for them.
Yeah, you kind of feed off that, don't you?
Yes, I did a lot, So the fans was a big part of it for me.